This is 2OF Entertainment.
There you are.
Okay. Good afternoon. Oh, good morning, good evening, whatever time zone you're on in Canada.
We are all over the world.
We are.
Time doesn't matter, I don't think, David. We're just here. It's amazing. Yeah. No, it's good seeing you again for this week. We have another Canadian artist with us this week. We got a Doug Gildart, who's he's a kind of a master watercolor artist, but he's also a mixed media artist. Has a bit of a architectural background, so we're going to see we have quite a few images to look at today, but I think there's, you can see the expertise in how watercolor is done, like how, the spontaneity of it, but also the execution of, doing a building or a structure, but giving it more oomph, I guess we'll call it, more meaning than just a building, right? You're trying to how do you put people into it, or the feeling that it's occupied, and it's, it's in an environment as well. So we'll look through some of those, as well as some of his other, I guess, marine type imagery that he likes to paint, some of the boats and shorelines and some different things. So really quite a eclectic group of imagery that we're going to go through.
Don't you always tell me that watercolor is like one mistake and then it's gone? Is that what happens with watercolors?
Mistakes are accumulative. They'll put it that way. When you make one, you can't fix it. A lot of times it just piles up and it turns into a mud pile. No, if you can handle watercolor, you can usually handle most mediums, because it forces you to learn your colors.
Well, let's bring Doug in, and we could tell us a little bit more about it. So,
good day, Doug.
Hi, Doug.
Hey, how are you? I'm happy to be here.
Good. Well, gentlemen, I'm going to drop off and have a great show, and I'm fascinated to see some of your work in watercolor, because the only thing I know about it is that it's a dangerous way to paint, they tell me. But there you go. What do I know?
We'll see whether it is or not.
Have a great show, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Well, have a good morning to you. Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah, well, you're an hour ahead of me, so you can tell me if the sun came up or not. I'm still waiting.
It's okay here. Yeah,
it's okay. Okay, that gives me a good. I'll be waiting for the sun to arrive. No, we talk about watercolors, and I guess you're more, and you do multimedia things as well, some oil painting and some of those kind of things. We should let's kind of back up a little bit, Doug. Can you give us a little bit about your art journey, background, a little bit? Where did we start with you, like in your early days?
Well, both my parents were artistic and crafty, so my sister and I we were encouraged from an early age on, and I think my first painting was probably when I was 8 years old. We'd go camping for the summer up at Craigleith Provincial Park. My dad was a painter and a sketcher, so he gave me his paints, and that was the start of the journey. And largely self-taught. I have taken workshops and whatnot throughout the years, and it's all been very instructive and helpful. But my predilection was watercolors right from the get-go, and oils came on. And as an architect, I sketched an awful lot, and did renderings, professional renderings, for a long time also.
Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of the background. Like, are you doing an architectural rendering, though, is for a client, they want to see what that building's going to look like before it's built, or how you're going to renovate something. They want to see that new look. So how did that, when you're doing that, how does that affect what you're doing now? Like, with that experience of doing that?
A very solid basis in which to look at the world and see the volumes and shapes. I think I have I think a fortunate ability to think in 3-dimensional and see how something can develop, whether I'm doing a building and placing it in a background or whatever. And so, excuse me, it can be from a very rigid, analytical way to get all the lines and the sense of proportions. That's become second nature for me, which I'm thankful for. And so in these paintings, I will take images and I'll push them around using my tablet and sketchbook, flip things and increase the size and whatnot. I could do it all by hand and sketching and whatnot, but I find this very quick. I'm very comfortable with it. And so the architectural has been a blessing, but you know what? It's also been a curse. I am so detail driven, and I can be very tight, as opposed to some of the painters that I admire are so loose and impressionistic, and I strive for that. So it's,
yeah, I think it's kind of a conundrum. Either the artist is one way or the other. One wants to tighten up, and all they can paint is loose, and they have a great big brush. But part of it is, that detailing. It can be a nightmare. You can get caught up in, that little 3-hair brush if you're not careful.
Yes. Yeah.
I call it a 3-hair brush. And but what kind of workshops did you do when you're saying you're trying to develop or move things maybe more into your fine art end that you're working on?
Well, I know a number of artists, and also just through talking with other people, they say, hey, you should go see this artist. And online is a great resource for anyone to watch these artists develop their painting. Yeah. And then they also offer workshops. And so I would go to the location, and for the day or two, we would go through how to do a particular painting. And so this is an interesting thing too, that people say, oh no, don't copy him. You don't want to be another, John Turner kind of thing. And it's no. My premise is monkey see, monkey do. I've just watched how you apply the paint, hold the brush, and the steps you do. And so I want to mimic that as much as I can, because if it imprints through my hand and my brain, I might get 2% of what was shown to me, and I can put that into my own paintings. But I've never worried about becoming another artist stylistically. Yeah. So workshops are great.
Yeah, I think a lot of times our brain will filter that out anyway. There's some that are copyists, but I think you learn from doing. But also stepping back, you're not, replicating, a Tom Thompson painting. The tree is exactly there in the same spot on the shoreline of Lake Superior, and the light. You say, well, how can I take the knowledge from the color palette to bring that into what I'm working on, or whatever? Let's going to start the first image up here so people don't fall asleep with us talking here.
Okay.
And good. There we go. Well, that's perfect. There we go.
Yeah.
So this is not a building, but we still have, in nature, you have structures that are sitting on the water. That there's a lot of times if you take imagery from somewhere else and you're popping it in onto things, is the boat sitting far enough in the water? Is it the right proportions? From from the front to the back, is it diminishing properly? And you've got a boat that's scalloped on both ends. In this one, there is it's
gorgeous boats.
Yeah. So is this some plein air work that you've worked on as well?
Yeah. So obviously I was in Venice and sat down at the pier early morning when the sun was coming up, and I did a watercolor plein air, and thankfully I captured the light coming up over the clouds. There's a huge bank of blue clouds, and the gondolas were in front of me. So I did a couple of plein airs right on the spot there. And this is a studio painting, and this is where oil and watercolor, I think, complement each other so well. Those watercolor paintings informed me how I should approach an oil painting. And so I did 5 paintings of this scene, variations and whatnot, and settled on this one.
Yeah, I think the real when you work with watercolor, there's kind of an immediacy to it, where oils
Absolutely.
you can slowly build the layers back. So there's two different mindsets. One is the immediate response, which is watercolor. You just get in and you see it, you do it, right? Where oils, you can step back and look at it, determine if it needs to be brighter, darker, whatever.
Absolutely, yes.
It can take a little longer. And also, the drying period is also what you're doing. But do you prefer watercolor over oil?
I think I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you must like just the immediacy of it. I think I need that to be that blended sky. Put it in. How much planning? Like is there a pencil line type light pencil?
Yes.
Drawing?
I lay out in this one, even for this oil painting, but sketch in the gondolas, the cloud formation. That just helps ground things as the brush moves. You can push it beyond, and that may be too much. So just the suggestion of a line work is very helpful.
So I think that sometimes with people doing oils, they'll just go right in with their big brush and start to knock it out and then move it around. But I think trying to paint sometimes between the lines in an oil tightens things up a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think no, this is I like this painting. It's really got a nice, I guess, the mood. Is it easier for you to create those sensations? We're going to go through a number of pictures here that show, capturing different moods and light that we're
well, I'm sure you can even relate to this, that you see an image and there are things in it that attract you subconsciously. It's the lighting or whatever, the drama. So that's what you try and replicate. And sometimes you can do that cold, just out of your mind. But I use reference photos as inspiration.
Yeah, I think when you're dealing with a lot of fine detail, you have to reference say the detail of a boat or something. You've got to get it to look right. So it's great to have the reference.
Look great. That's correct. Yeah.
So how big is this painting? This one here?
This is a quarter sheet.
Oh, okay.
So it's plein air. So I'm sitting on the slope just in front of the barn there, and
sort of about 11 by 15 is a quarter sheet. So inches. Yeah. No, it's just nice to see when you can capture in. This is probably what, an hour sketch, an hour and a half that you worked on.
Hour and a half. Yeah.
About that. So. But it has there's still a looseness about it, and it still has that structure. There's some light, and the challenge of painting outside with people, especially with watercolor, how quickly it can dry on you.
Oh yeah.
How quickly it can be destroyed by one raindrop. How there's a lot of things that can happen. Bugs don't technically get embedded into the paint like they do if you're doing an oil.
No, but then you can unconsciously go to brush that bug off, and then you get this streak going up into the sky.
And then so do you work with a little bit of chance things happening a little bit?
Yeah.
So when you sweep that bug off, all of a sudden there's this stream of light that you can.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The bug inspired pieces. I find that. Are you kind of a happy day painter out there? So in other words, it's basically a sunny day, or do you paint all season?
All seasons. I've painted some shoreline scenes out in BC. Very cold. I had gloves on. The wind is coming in and the spray, and so kind of protect it this way. And I'm painting the waves crashing and that. I love it. I painted in the winter and that. No, it's anytime.
I remember listening to one artist talk who did on-the-spot drawings, and I forget what Winter Olympics it was. It's in Europe years ago, and it was just below zero. So basically, your water is freezing on you, And so the one announcer was asking, says, well, what do you put in, how do you do this watercolors and your water doesn't freeze? And he says, puts vodka in the water.
Yeah.
So there, at the end of the day, you want to drink your water. Is that what you want to do? Anyway, there's things that, and little tricks that you can do to extend your watercolor season, I guess, a little bit in the winter is just put a touch of alcohol in there, just to, if you make it drinkable, usually it all turns brown or green, the water eventually. But no, this is and I think when you're doing a watercolor, do you usually have a couple of pots of water that you have, one fresh, one rinse?
I have a mixing, larger mixing bowl water, and then a smaller clean water one. They're uncollapsible rubber bowls that you can get through Mountain Equipment Co-op, that kind of place. And I have them Velcroed onto my board that I have the paints and everything set up on. So
do you have a bit of a table stand that you build that outside? Yeah, I think because you technically have to be working maybe a little bit of a slant on the board.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you tape your paper down with a mask of some kind? Or
I can use an Arches block of paper, which kind of holds it flat. I don't do a lot of pre-wetting saturation where it can warp the page a lot. Sometimes as I'm doing a painting, it'll tend to buckle on that, but you learn to work around that. But I do hold everything down. I'll either use a white tape like this, cheap stuff, to give a white trim board once you've finished the painting, or clip it with bulldog clips.
Yeah.
Wind is not your friend out there.
No. I've had a few experiences myself with wind, and working full sheet, and not necessarily watercolor. It was actually oil on gessoed paper, and I was at a really windy retreat, and I was painting, and I was down right beside the van at one time. Came around the back to put the wet piece into the back of the van, and the wind came around, ripped it off this paper, and it was literally stuck on my face.
I know.
Peeled this thing off, and it's just this torrent wind. And anyway, the things you have to deal with, a lot of people don't understand that. Artists do, but the buyer, the people that are interested in the work, they like to hear that story. They like to hear what anguish you went through to create that piece of work. Yeah, and it's always something special about those things. Instead of a fingerprint in there, I had a nose print, basically.
Absolutely.
But I think those are the beer stories that you can talk about with other artists. It's kind of the conversation, the adventures, and part of that is because we all go through different challenges, and we can share those adventures with other artists. So how do you prevent that? I tape the paper down, or I buy block, and some people only paint block when they're outside. It's easier to deal with, and they fold the lid shut and it's done. The nice thing with watercolor is that it will dry fairly quickly, and that you can pick it up and move at the end of your session.
Yes.
Yeah. This one's got really nice saturation. I like this. Yet there's clarity in the color, right? This is difficult to do with a lot of people. In the multi-mixing of the pre-mixed, like there's 8,000 colors you can buy, but you probably only need 10. You don't need, the creation of blacks, from two colors. It's possible if you know your complements, and you can build those things.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. A lot of the really good artists and some that have taken workshops, they work from a very not strict, but select group of pigments. And they talk about warm and yellow, like a warm yellow and a cool yellow, and the reds and the blues, and how to mix those so that you don't get muddiness and that. So there's a very conscious approach on how they mix colors.
Yeah.
In this one, for instance, the yellow canopies, I actually found through trial and error, cobalt violet glaze put in underneath the canopies, and in the real painting on the wall, it glows. It's just got this luminosity that is what I strove for, rather than just here. It's like a dark brown, but it didn't translate in a photograph. But I was happy that way. So those are discoveries.
Yeah, this has got a deep, rich orange, burnt orange color.
Mm-hmm.
It's deeper underneath, and the light seems to bounce yet emanate from it. So there's some, like, that's the magic with watercolors, trying to get it to fluoresce a little bit and glow, and understanding that if you buy, say, a premixed like sap green and a couple of these other colors, and you say you want to make it, you add them, you realize how many colors went in to make sap green, and how many colors it goes in to make, say, a certain, I don't know, another color, and you mix them together. Now you have 10 or 12 colors mixed. That's why you get mud. Where if you stay to your peers, I guess there used to be a book years ago, Stephen Quiller on color, and he had a color palette that you can go to. I think there's stuff online, and you can see his color palette, how he kept clarity in his color, and his paintings were a little on the bright side, but he had a way of creating them. Anyway, I love this, the mood that's affected in this. And a lot of us have sat in these outdoor cafes and umbrellaed areas, and you're in shadow, but the beautiful light that's beyond that you're looking at. Say
and that's the effect I wanted. So you're bang on that assessment, right?
So it takes you from one space into the next, right? And pushing people's eye as to where you want them to look. The adding of people for scale as well, right? It's not a vacant place as well. So some people but adding people can be difficult because they go,
oh my gosh, yes.
Who is that? You say, no, how do you build anonymity in those people so they're just a generic person rather than it's so-and-so famous person sitting there, or my cousin sitting there and recognizable, whatever, right? And so there is a challenge. How do you feel about the challenge with people being added to work? Is there, you said it's a challenge a little bit, but what kind of challenge?
Sometimes it's a crapshoot. In oil, you can take it out and put it back in, but with watercolor, I guess the most popular style is an orange head and a triangular shape body and vague suggestions of legs. Stylistically, it works. People immediately read into what they want. I sometimes try to be a bit more definitive, and that can work or not work. So
it's I think if you're right, but I've seen people add it to their landscapes, and a lot of times it takes away from what it is. You're not. So was your love with buildings and structures more than just the landscape, or are they both equal as far as what you like to paint?
I like to put them in, have both together for sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah. This is a really nice little cabin in the woods feeling, Again, a lot of us maybe have, I don't know if you've ever walked in the woods, you can see how light traverses through the trees and can spot something. Like it just, boom, it just sits. And you've come from shadowed area to create a different mood and a feeling, right? To bring you into an image, become part of it. This one doesn't have any people, but it still feels like it's not a derelict building. It still feels like it's occupied in some way, whether the person's there or not. So it's just kind of some of these things you capture, and maybe you just capture it. It's just there, right? It's just a feeling. So where would this one have been done? This piece?
I was Prince Edward County.
Okay. Yeah. So was it an area where there's just cabins at the lake, that kind of a place?
Yep. Just, by the water. That's what the blue is, the reflection there. Yeah.
So is it the light that captures you that you go to?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's the light in the moment. Yeah. So you just happen to have your sketch pad with you on this one when you just walked by and saw it, or did you come back?
I've been there for a couple of days and that, but I like getting out first thing in the morning, and also towards the end of the day. That's the most dramatic light.
Yeah, those are the magic hours. Yeah, for sure. Here you go. This is one of those structures. It's just, you're dealing with. First thing people notice is if the building is not perpendicular to the page. It's like you have to be so careful, almost in the draftsmanship of when you start doing a building, that it's not leaning, or
Yeah.
if it is, you really push that aspect, the eye, moving stuff
Yeah.
around on purpose. But when you're
Yeah.
actually,
So one of the things that I'm obsessed about is, in reflections, that the line is straight. You made reference before that something kind of tilts to one side. Quite often reflections, they don't line up. That's my bugaboo, but it's not that important for people looking at it who aren't as obsessed as I am. The other thing about this painting is, after doing it and doing studies, I threw in a yellow sky, which is the antithesis of a blue sky day, because it's nice and sunny, and it just sets the tone for some reason.
Well, it's a nice complement to this purpley gray color, so it's a nice complement to that. So I think it does set the day. When you look at reflections, typically, if you're looking at something, the reflection will actually come straight back at you. Doesn't matter where you stand, the reflection comes back to you in your eyes. So the viewer gets pulled in, immediately. But it's nice to, I've seen them where you can almost flip the painting upside down. They're almost a mirror image, and it kind of bothers me a little bit. It's nice to throw a little ripple in the water or reflect the light back a little bit. So the light that's sneaking between the bridge and the building in the foreground on the water really tells me that that's water, right? It tells me there's something reflective happening there. So little things. No, I like, what makes the building interesting. It's the laundry and the boat and that little bit of a green on it.
Hints of people. Yeah.
It puts the people back into the building. I always like pictures of laundry for some reason. I don't know why. I've seen a number where they're Italian paintings where they hang their laundry out, right? And they're just a big, beautiful building between buildings, narrow streets with laundry hanging almost between the buildings. Like it's beautiful to see this.
Well, there's an Andrew Wyeth painting with the woman on the grass and the laundry hanging above. Just spectacular.
Yeah, no, and I think it's been a nice motif for a number of artists. I think we have a number of Canadian artists that have done similar things as well. But this one really captured me. There's an eeriness in this one. Now, this isn't just watercolor. This is a mixed media piece, it looks like, right? Is that what this is? Yeah.
Airbrush in the sky, chalk pastel overlaid on the watercolor of the church.
Right.
And again, the whole point was the eerie luminosity under the bridge and on the church faces. And that's in downtown Toronto. And this is way back. It was one of my favorite.
Yeah. So it's kind of Hopper-esque, Edward Hopper. He painted these vacant things where people were there, but nightlife, the evening. This one's got an evil dark sky, so there may be anybody, like, you read stories into things, right?
For sure. Open for interpretation.
Yeah. Well, do these stories kind of go through your head while you're painting them a little bit? Or does it come about after you look at it later and says, oh, I captured that? Or did you?
Yeah, it's more that just somehow you're operating on an intuitive level, as opposed to saying, gosh, you know what? I'm going to find myself a night scene with something coming in overhead and that. It all comes together. And when it's a good painting, it's the result of that intuition and whatnot.
Yeah. I think it's just those morning walks, as you say, or things. Your mind sets things in gear and thinking about things. And like, people are saying, how do I get that idea? How do I get fresh new ideas? And he said, well, going for that walk in certain places go to places that you like to walk to start with.
Yeah.
And that will inspire the work that you like to do.
Yeah. And artists all have their own predilections of how they view things. This one and the previous building, which had the bridge coming in, slicing in on a tight angle, that seems to be, I don't know, the foil or something that I like using to draw you into a painting, and I use it in other paintings. just my kind of architectural background.
Yeah, and this freeway does the same thing. It brings something in. I mean, you're looking at something that it can read a lot of things in. I mean, you can read, being that the freeway is dark, and it can be the evil thing, and you've got this weirdly lit building in there, but they're nice compliments. It's popping off the page, like it's got a real zing to it. So there's a different level in this piece. It's very, it's simple in design. It's not complex, even though the building is detailed. But there's, I don't know. I think it's just the leaning power line is probably as important as anything.
Has a tension to it.
It has. Yes. So you've got the bridge coming one way and the tension of the other one coming the other way, which really forces your eye, without it being two parallels to look between. They're kind of on the skew, right?
Yeah.
But it's sort of, there's a mystery in here, and that's what the story is. It's just the magic of a piece of work that, I think a very successful piece, but it's a classic piece because you're looking at almost iconic imagery where you're trying to find symbolisms that say things. And these elevate it beyond the picture of the tree, for instance. What I'm saying is, you're making statements here without even understanding that, that wasn't the purpose. We have so many, we live between freeways. I mean, every city has them now, and so Toronto has just got one overlapping the other one, and the concrete jungle is happening everywhere. And we're, as humans, trying to live between all this stuff, right? And make a living out of it. So there's a lot of things can be read into the story. That's what I guess I'm saying. And but I love it. It's a really, it makes me think, where is this? I'd like to go and see this building and your view, and stand where you stood. It's one of those things.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because this is the Richmond ramp off of the Don Valley Parkway. Okay. And the intriguing thing for me is I always use that ramp. And as you get close to the building, that building is 4.5 feet away from the guardrail. And you almost want to reach out and touch the building. And so you got this clash of two, quick movement, transportation, get there, and a church is where contemplation resides and all that. So it was an interesting view.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just kind of it's, and maybe knowing that that's a church, and then you have this power pole that's almost like this tilted edge. It almost looks like a spire for the church, but it's not straight up and down anymore. So it has,
interesting.
Is there some kind of demise that's happening to the church because of the steeple's not there anymore? It's now symbolized by, like, I'm reading a lot of stuff in, but this is my story that I tell myself that's going on. And now that I know the background from you, my story gets richer because of it. I understand.
So, Paul, that's a really interesting thing too, is so I said I painted this because intuitively I saw certain things that worked, and that's what I did. And then you get historians who say, oh, well, Picasso, he painted it this way because he was thinking this at the time, and you're going, no, he just painted it. You read it, but that's okay. That's what you want. You want that engagement and the viewer to inject their thoughts and opinions into it. That's a successful painting. Engagement.
Yeah. It's another one that's very nice. It's just this, it's just giving me a shadow at the top, shadow at the bottom, and you're giving me a slice to walk through. And I think we've all walked through similar things in the summertime, where we walk narrow streets and the shadows coming from all directions. But I'm glad the shadow of the tree wasn't dark. It's one of these things. You can change anything you want to people, and say you can make them any color for your manipulation of a purpose.
So I'd like to say that I thought all about how to do that. I was riding a streetcar in San Francisco, and I happened to turn backwards and snap that shot as I went down the hill. And John saw this and went, wow. So it was a bigger photograph, and then you edit down to what is the essence. But that's the light bouncing up from the sidewalk. It's just spectacular.
Yeah. And you know, you don't need to show blue sky. It still says light, and so many people want to put the sky at the top of the page as well. And so you can flip it around. It can reflect in a pool of water or a puddle.
True.
You don't have to put the sky at the top. And this is a nice way of saying there's a really beautiful light in the day, you know, the bounce. You don't have to put all the detail in even, you know, but it's kind of it's a very pleasant feeling. You know, you want to be there. You want to go to that place, sit and have a coffee. It's just, or go in that doorway. You know, it's kind of fun. And I love the little fire hydrant. I don't know what it is. There's just this, it's sort of like a punctuation mark, right? It's like saying, it says, like, without the fire hydrant, it's just a sidewalk. But the addition of a fire hydrant is, you know, it's just kind of localizes some things. A little bit of color and the shape probably. We all have one of those somewhere, right? We understand those things a bit. Yeah. But I don't know. It is a pleasant piece. We got to move on here. We got some other great shots here. So is this a plein air piece? This one looks kind of.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. And as I'm standing there, people are coming up, standing behind me or nudging the painting and asking questions, it's a lovely experience. I love interacting with people and hearing what they think.
Yeah. You don't have one of those shirts with all the answers on it? On the back?
Yeah. I never thought of that.
Yeah. Like my daughter could do better than you, one of those ones. Yeah. I said, no, usually the advice eventually comes around when they come around the second or third time. You know, they went shopping, they come back and you're still working on it, and they're you know,
is that all you've done?
Yeah, there you go. There's one of the questions. Yeah. Can you put my daughter in that picture? Yeah, one of those ones.
Oh, so true.
Where was this one? Where was this one?
This is in downtown Toronto, the old distillery district, Gooderham and Warts, where they made all the booze, and they've now converted it into a very upscale destination point for tourists.
Oh, okay. No, it's good to know that. You know, you look at this thing when you're doing plein air, you're painting around the white, right? You're trying to retain as much white as you can, like the detail in the clock and around the windows, and, you know, the text as well, the type, you know, that become part of what you're doing. There's challenges to a lot of that, especially when you're working quickly. And it looked like a sunny, warm day, so your paper's drying out, I would think. Yeah,
for sure.
But it's a nice feeling, you know. It feels, you know, inviting. I think that's the light. I think is part of what it is, Doug. I think I like that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah,
piece there. Now you're over on East Coast.
East Coast, yeah, just south of Nova Scotia, or Halifax.
That would be south. Yeah. Halifax Harbor. Yeah, you can. You know, the nice thing with Nova Scotia, you just drive up that coast highway, and they're just one right after the other. The beautiful little bays and inlets, and you know, you stop if you can stop and just, you know, have a coffee or an oyster. You know.
So one of the things that you must be aware of this as a plein air painting, you think, I'm going to find that perfect location, and you keep going past great opportunities, and sometimes your whole day is spent looking for that place. This particular painting, again, I've used my sketchbook and the photographs. I've taken 5 or 6 paintings, and I've cropped them and moved them in, flipped it, and blown the things up. So all those buildings don't reside beside each other. The church in the backyard was from another view. The boats in the foreground, everything's just composed into this one painting, which I love doing.
Yeah. Well, it's to give you the feeling. I mean, you know, it's not so-and-so bay, you know, or something, you know, specifically, because it's really difficult to sometimes you want to be on the water at a point and shoot back at the buildings, and you don't have access to a boat. You know, you've got to figure out, how can I get over there to get a shot of this thing here? And and a lot of times it is multiplicity. You got to shoot a whole bunch of different buildings and build your own vision, which I really like, because I'm really a believer in paint what you thought you saw, not what you see. And it's really difficult for artists. But once you learn that skill, paint what you thought you saw, it becomes yours because you eliminate all the other detail. All you're doing is what you remember, which is the most important part. And you don't have the crutch of the exact photo that you're replicating. You're right. Take this building from there, take this building from there, put some boats in the foreground and figure it out. Yeah, it makes it your painting, and it's so different. Nobody else is doing that. They'll have three boat houses, but they'll be different colors, different shapes, whatever. But this one is yours. Nobody else has it. Yeah.
So when you've been painting plein air and someone comes up and says something, hey, that building's not there. Yeah, that's right. I took it out. Artistic license.
I've just removed your building, Mr. Jones.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the things that maybe the one freedom that we don't use enough as an artist. We don't have that freedom sometimes built into us. I must put everything in there.
Yeah.
Well, if you work with a bigger brush, it can't happen. And you force yourself to not put detail in by increasing the size of your brush. Yeah, no, it's a lovely piece. I love the composition, and the colors are really, it sets me. I know where I am, because you go to the West Coast, they're different. It's not the same. Yes. The East Coast, they're not afraid of color at all.
No, I love it.
They're not afraid of color. I love it. Yeah. So we take you more inland on this one, I think. Again, you've got this device, right, that we just talked about. The left and the right, it sets the mood. It brings you into the page.
Intimacy, yeah.
Do you like painting big ships? Is that kind of a fun thing?
Yeah. I actually have a cottage down in the Thousand Islands. We're at the narrowest point on the seaway, and all these Lakers and salties go by our cottage within 50 feet. And at night, these ships with all their lights, it's like a city drifting by. So I've fallen in love with these ships. They are an absolute glorious boat.
Yeah. Being able to sit and paint rust is amazing. You just love painting rust. I don't know what it is. Just dealing with that you can live with that one. It's fun. Yeah. No, a ship in itself, they're unique. Each one, they're specific. You could say, oh, there's 5 Lakers. Each one is different. Each one has a feeling. They draw water differently. Depends what they're carrying or whatever they're carrying. But I guess it's the constructiveness of this page. There's these abstract aspects that are happening. It feels industrial. It feels, access to the waterway, which I'm on the prairies. I don't get access to this kind of water.
No,
where we have a railway and a highway, in an airstrip. We don't have access to ships. I mean, boats on our river, yes, but not ships. A ship port is magical. Just the smells come out as well. Like, you ever try to figure out when you look at certain work, it feels like seagulls, or it feels like the essence of that day. You can almost smell what it's like when you're at that. Yeah, when you're walking on the pier, it's kind of, those are the magic things. I think sometimes, do those moments arrive more when you look back at them in your studio with a scotch or a beer? And
you know what? Yeah. Aside from this purely visual, there's the memory of the breeze, and as you say, the odors and everything.
Yeah. No, they come back. I think that's the magic. I think that's what sets people wanting them. The work is that it sets off those. If they've ever experienced that walk on this pier, for instance, not specifically that boat, but absolutely the experience, and if you can get that across with your story, you got a sale. I mean, right away, then people want what you're producing. Yeah, you have people say, "Can you do one for me? Can you do one?" So you end up doing 5 of the same paintings. Have you had requests for things like that?
I've had requests. I generally don't like doing commissions. Just let me create.
If I do something you like, you can maybe buy it. Yeah, that's. I'm pretty much there now too. I don't like people holding my brush for me, so I tend to agree. I'm at a certain stage that I don't want to do that anymore. I did some early days, and I used to be a graphic designer and stuff for years, and you end up doing stuff for other people for all your life, right?
Well, you're being told what to draw specifically and modifying that. So,
as I said, you're always selling somebody else's shoes, for them.
Yes.
So at a certain point, you just have to do stuff for yourself. And if you're very fortunate, people will buy into what you're doing if you're sincere to what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's this is a lovely piece. I mean, I've always liked seeing boats that were made with strip wood, and the gunnels on them are all. It adds a little life to them. It almost feels a fish-like. So they become like scales, like the bones of fish, and they belong where they are. So in other words, a boat is almost synonymous with a large fish or something that may be there. And the one piece in this piece, and I'll just say that I really like, is the light underneath the one tipped over boat.
Yeah, that sliver of light.
And it's the sliver of light. It's that directional piece that's driving you into the water without it doing in a dominant way, right? So you're dealing with this large whale type image, yet it's light. It's not heavy, like it feels like it's lifted off the water.
Yeah.
And just that little, remembering you can manipulate things, and sometimes this might have been found in another photo you might have had or something. You don't have to make it dark, right? You can bring, which gives a really nice feeling to the airiness, because they could be heavy. Two big boats in the foreground, that one sliver of light elevates. It's just,
exactly.
Yeah. It's really nice.
The other thing that's was intentional here is the front of the back of this boat, which is right in the front here, is obscured. I haven't done any detailing, and it's like if you look even across the room, your focus is in the distance, and what's in the foreground is out of focus, and that's what a camera does too. And so this just keeps pushing your eye into the painting.
Yeah, no, and I like it. The boats kind of come around and bring your eye back into the page. They don't, but if you were to carve somebody's name into the back of that thing, it would take away from the whole piece of work, because they would, they'd put the name of their boat on the back of there, for instance. But sometimes they like to name their canoes and their boats. Yeah. But it's got a nice feeling. Here, complexity here, like
absolutely.
This one looked like hours of work dealing in this one. Was this a plein air piece?
It was. I was out at the Parsboro Plein Air Festival, and the day before I had painted outside. I wasn't underneath the wooden pier here. I was off to the left, and there were 5 boats along a long pier. And all that night, after walking away from it, I was agitated because that wasn't right. There was something I needed to do. So I went back, stood underneath this wooden pier. That orange canoe or orange trawler was to the far left, and I just painted. I brought it in, and I painted it right there as the point of focus. And I did it for 5.5 hours of just standing there nonstop until the tide came in and said, "You're out of here."
Yeah, you deal with the elements. They will force you with your brushes to. So did you paint around all those wooden structures from under the pier? Is that all?
Everything, yeah. And so there's a process, and I approached it in the right way, in just laying in the green boards, not worrying too much about the darks or whatever, but and then going in and accenting that, knowing where the boat was going to be. So I sketched this. First of all, you can just see some sketch lines vaguely there. Yeah. So that was the whole point. Lay it out and then know the steps on how to achieve this. And at the end, the overhead wharf, that was done so quickly with minimal amount of colors, maybe 2 layers of paint, and that's what gives that luminosity. It's not dead and heavy, and it shows bounced light and whatnot. So, I was happy with this.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Well, you're just dealing with, this green reflection on the water and some of these things, that it's different. Than, it doesn't have to be blue or gray. It keeps continuity in your piece of work. But these are things you have to make decisions on the fly. When you're standing there for 5.5 hours, at the end of the day, you're tired. I mean, you got to make those fresh decisions on the front end, and it's a complicated piece. And so, how did this one do in your festival that you're at? This plein air?
I was shocked. I got second place when they announced it, and people beside me were getting honorable mentions. I was going, way to go! That's fantastic. Thinking, hey, I'd love one of those. So I was very, very happy with this.
Yeah, that's good. No, it's got to being rewarded a little bit for the amount of work you put into something, because that's a dedication, right? You've really dedicated yourself for one image for 5.5 hours, and that's a fair bit of commitment, especially outdoors and in a plein air situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
These ones are. I like this freshness that is happening. It's just this little bit of, I guess we'll call it just a dry brush sweep that you can drag across just to give you that essence
for
of
that water, the sunlight, sparkle,
sparkle light, and there are other technical things you can do to create light situations, but this is a nice natural way of pre-planning. This usually comes from experience, understanding what you can do, when you get to
when to do it.
When to do it. I mean, I've seen people come and they'll use a knife and they'll scratch back into the dry paper, right? What weight of paper do you usually use?
It's 140 pound.
140, yeah. So it's got some tooth to it. That's usually a cold press arches.
Yeah, it's arches. I like that. I've tried others, Saunders and that. And Bohan is another relatively new product. They're all good for their own individual reasons.
Well, understanding that watercolor paper's really gotten expensive. It's it's not. It used to be really economical in the day, but I just think with paper production and the different things that are going on, things have just since COVID, I just noticed this huge increase in price, especially on a block of paper. It's $100 for a block. It's but what do you do? What do you do with your presentation of them? How do you present your work to your audience as your buyer?
Well, I show a fair bit in juried shows, and then I have in my basement an adjacent room that I call the gallery, and I can put up about 30 paintings in a salon style, just all over that, and have people come walk in and look at it and that. But
so but I mean, are they glazed, or do you wax them, or how do you
some I actually use door lens wax, and I just rub that on so I don't have to put them behind glass. Like that one out in Parsboro, that was the others. I tend to reuse frames and glass, cut them out again, or just do a whole new. I often custom framed paintings too.
So do you kind of work in standard sizes a little bit so you can reuse your frames? And
wish I could say yes. Boy, I wish. People say this is why I paint an 11 by 15, and that's it. I'm still all over the map, and I pay the price for it, and having to get different size frames that aren't standard.
I think a lot of when you start doing shows from away where you have to do a lot of shipping, that's the time when you do standardization so that you can build a box where things all fit nicely in them when they go shipping, where they're all different sizes. One is pressing on the other one, putting pressure on glass or different things.
Very true.
But if you're doing waxing, a lot of times they'll just, dry mount it to a panel. You can use a wallpaper paste, which is acid free. If you can, I think they buy a pre-mixed one in Sherwin-Williams, or even Home Depot will sell a pre-mixed wallpaper paste, and it works slick. You can glue it to a panel, and then the panel can stand off the wall. If it's waxed, it's just as good as anything. The old days used to be don't touch the surface. I used to have people that used to varnish them. all these different things. Once they're done, you can't do anything with that watercolor.
No, it's fixed, truly.
As is with wax. So I think you're pretty much done with that. But I think those are, the cost factor of framing for an artist. When you do watercolors, they add up pretty quick. Pretty soon. Then you go into you spend all your money on framing.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's as expensive as an oil painting with all its pigments. Yeah,
and the fragility of glass and that too. It's harder to ship.
Yes,
and some people want the museum quality glass with less reflection, and so the price goes up and up. Here we go. Yeah, if you've ever been in a boat in the Shield country, you get these occasions where you go between rock faces and different things in a canoe or something. And were you in a boat on this one when you're kind of looking at this?
I actually took my two boys. We went whitewater canoeing down the Nahanni River, and these are the images that we came across as we went around one bend after another.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Yeah, and how that light bounces from one side to the other, where you think you can't see the sun, but all of a sudden the cliff is glowing on the other side. Like you can't see the sun, but the sun is coming across it. They create dramatic pieces, Yeah, very. So what do you?
That's it. The drama.
The feeling of painting a rock. Do you like? Is that a thing you love to do? Like, is it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So challenging.
It is, and some can paint them and some can't. I mean, sometimes I think it's again that luminosity, trying to let the rock live a little bit with you, but you're dealing with grays a lot of times and some undercolor in the rock. But it's gorgeous. Yeah. Oh, I got to get back. I got finger here. I saved almost the best to last. I just we've talked about this piece a little bit earlier, previous to the show, and I just, the feeling of scale. And where is this location? Like,
this is in Ireland.
In Ireland, wow! It feels tropical. For some reason, it's that.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah,
it feels like something that some pirate would be coming in the Caribbean somewhere around some corner with his ship, But
yes,
is this actually did you manage this from different images, or did you pull stuff together for this one?
Yeah, so this one happened to be an island on a huge mansion, private grounds, and so I flipped the island there, and I went and I imposed, put in the rusted out trawler and the people swimming, and the background was similar to that, but slightly modified. So again, just playing with the proportions and everything. The thing that really captured me was the way the water reflection is, and people think it has to be constant, but you know what? The wind will shear the light off in front and in the back. So to me, this just really highlights, it's water there. It's
it's a nice thing to look for that, because I think that breaking up that surface rather than just, because the focus really isn't about the water. The focus really is about this, I call it broccoli, that's there with this beautiful great stems that are coming off. And I think it's kind of a unique, beautiful image, to think how these trees can make a living on that rock. It's just, it's almost like large lichen. It just feels, it's a beautiful piece. It looks like you had a lot of fun painting that green in there, because it moves around quite a bit on you. It's faces and, but all those little back cuts, with the trees, they all mean something, right? Those little wiggles of wood, rather than just a forest sitting there without any tentacles hanging on to this. It gives a bit of life to that, and depth. I guess I'll call it that.
And as much as it's detailed, there's an abstractness, is what you're kind of alluding to. The wiggly lines and that it lets you read into it.
It's what holds the whole page together. You have this unique shape of that island. There's about 3 or 4 shapes that are all jigsaw together that hold this image, yet there's a focus to one piece. And I just love the feeling of it. It's not all one flat color. It moves your eye around, and you want to go around this island. You want to feel that there's something happening. That's that story. That's that story that needs to be told to people, and you as an artist can direct them to that. The little things that the story should be about, but they'll have their own little vision. But no, it's beautiful. And we'll end on this one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He feels a little lonely. He feels like
abandoned.
I've been abandoned on the shore, and this beautiful breaker of water that's coming in. Like it feels fresh, and it's a long, narrow painting. This one, I'm guessing.
It is. Yeah, it's about 30 inches wide.
Yeah, it's a half sheet horizontal. Feels
That's
like
actually. This is an oil painting.
Oh, it's an oil. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's nice that you can get an oil to feel like a watercolor, because I thought this was a watercolor. Well, it's tough. Oils, you can thin them down, you got to glaze them, and you got to build them up. But to have this lovely feeling and lovely texture, I mean, there's a really nice feeling with this. But he feels a little grounded, right? He's waiting for the tide to come in, they can go back out. And but I love it. It says a lot for that image, rather than just say a shoreline, which is kind of abstract, obscure, like bare, and you add a little human element to it, being a boat or something, and not just a seagull. There's just adding something there, to structure that's man-made, that's invested into the water, and with the water. It's just it's a nice way to look at it. Well, Doug, that's been a great share with us. I mean,
Paul, I've really enjoyed this. Great chatting with you. Yeah.
We'll bring David back in here if he didn't fall asleep usually at the wheel. There you go. There he is. He's good.
I've been enjoying. I love the architectural stuff. I mean,
Thank you.
I've been surrounded by my father was years in the industry, in the building industry. I studied it as well. So yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
And the street, and this last one as well. I mean, I'm there. I'm on the beach. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Which I've just found myself being totally sucked into it. Which is,
you can smell the fish. I know. You get that.
Yeah. Or just thinking, I don't want to get too close because I'm not quite sure if the next wave's going to make my feet wet or not. Which I think is.
But it brings back memories of past experiences, right? And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that's what paintings do, more so than a lot of the digital stuff that's happening, and the electronic passive. But when you put a piece like this on your wall or in your office or someplace, it's very personal, and it tells something about the buyer as well, or the person that might like that, or the patron. And we will.
Well, let's ask the most important questions then, Paul.
You do.
I mean, Doug, if we were going to be buying some of your work, can you give us a guesstimate of what sort of price range you'd be asking for your work?
Boy, that's the $1 million question.
Well, you're an artist, so unless you're putting them away in a cupboard, I'm sure you want to sell them. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Some paintings get done in 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Others, I've spent like 80 hours on them. So, and people always say charged by the square inch or kind of thing. But my paintings will run anywhere from $300-400 up to, I've sold $3,000 paintings.
Canadian dollars now.
Yeah. So it's a wide range. This one was about $700, and it was to a family friend. So
lucky person, whoever it is, got that on the wall.
Well, they keep saying how much they enjoy it.
I can believe that. I mean, you'd never get. You're just waiting for the next wave to roll in. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, no, it's
but anyway, gentlemen, look, the time is beating us again as always. We'd like to stick around.
I really enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And thank you, Paul, for bringing another fantastic guest onto the show. Don't forget, everybody, if you like and want to support Canadian artists, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you like what we're trying to do on 2OF in entertainment channel, please subscribe for the channel as well. And yeah, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time today. Paul, until next week. And we just say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah, have a good one. Take care.
Bye, Paul.
Bye-bye.
Bye, David.
Bye-bye.